All right, so I'm going to walk through solving exercise 1611, which is the issuance, exercise, and termination of stock options, and I'm also going to add one piece on the expiration of the stock options that's not written into the exercise. On January 1st, 2018, Titania, which you'll remember them as a company that redeemed some of their bonds, granted stock options to officers and key employees for the purchase of 20,000 shares of the company's $10 par common stock at $25 per share. So $25 per share is the purchase price, the exercise price for the options. Options were exercisable within a 5-year period beginning January 1, 2020 by grantees still an employee of the company and expiring December 31st, 2024. So the employees on January 1st, 2020, they can start buying shares of stock on December 31st, 2024. They're no longer able to buy shares of stock, and they can only buy them if they're still working for the company after January 1st, 2020. The service period for the award is 2 years. So employees have to work in 2018 and 2019 in order to get the options. And if they fulfill their 2 years of requirements of 2018 and 2019, then on 2020, they can start buying the shares. Assume that the fair value option pricing model, the Black-Scholes model, for example, determines total comp expense to be $350,000. And this is what I said in my previous video, that this number will just be given to you in this class. And guess what? There it is, given to you. So the first thing that happened is on January 1st, 2018, the company granted the stock options, and here are all the details of the options. On April 1st, 2019, 2,000 options were terminated when the employees resigned from the company. The market price of the stock was $35 per share on that date. On March 31st, 2020, 12,000 options were exercised when the market price was $40. So employees paid $25 per share to buy 12,000 options at a time when the market price was $40. So we are required to prepare journal entries for the issuance of the stock options, the termination of the stock options, the exercise of the stock options, and charges to comp expense for the years ended December 31st, 2018, 2019, 2020. And like I said, I'm also going to add 12/31/2024, the expiration. So what I've done here, just got a quick spreadsheet. I've got some of the basic facts of the options up here. The total fair value is $350. That was given. The total number of options is also given. The fair value per option, that's just dividing the $350,000 divided by the 20,000 options. So the total fair value of each option is determined to be $1,750. Now the service period is given to be 2 years, and so for each year of service, 1,750 divided by 2 is 875. So you can think of it as for every year of service an employee works, that employee earns 875 per option. And so that's going to be helpful when we have this termination. I've also just put up here for our reference what the events are at the various dates in the problem. I also have over here our friendly T account. All right, so let's go through our transactions. On January 1st, 18, the grant date, no entry needed. There's no transaction. There's an agreement to engage in future transactions, but there's no actual transaction on the grant date. What's the next thing that happens? On 12/31/18, our first service year ends. So employees have earned their first year worth of options. We have to record that. So we're going to record compensation expense, and we are going to credit APIC options. This is, again, if you think about that video that I made, this is where we kind of say the employees are in a sense, working for the right to have a future investment in the company. And so they're paying for this future investment with their labor. So that's why we're recording comp expense. We also have additional paid in capital. So we're getting something from the employees. We're getting their labor at the cost of potentially giving them a discount on shares of stock. So how much have they earned? How much have they earned? Well, they've worked one of the 2 years. So what we want to do is we want to recognize it's $875 per year times 1 year times 20,000 options. Because all the employees have worked, nobody has quit yet. So plus 875 times 20,000 times 1, $175,000. That's the total amount of compensation expense that we're going to record. You can think of it as half of the 350. There's 2 years of service, they've worked 1, they've earned half. That makes perfect sense. Or you can think of it on a per option basis. So as of 12/31/18, we've put $175,000 into our APIC options account. We've recorded $875 per year times 1 year times 20,000 options. That's all we got to do for 12/31/18. Notice in the year 2018, we've got total comp expense of $175,000. April 1st, 19, employees quit, 2,000 options were forfeited. So these employees gave up their right to buy our shares of stock at $25 per share. What do? Here's where we do this weird thing where we undo the prior entry. In 2019, we're taking away a portion of this comp expense that we recorded in 2018. And this is the thing where I said, yeah, it's going to be in the wrong year. So we have the whole year of comp expense recorded in 2018, but these employees quit in 2019, but we didn't know that in 2018, so we can only record it now. So how are we going to record this? This employee worked worked for 1 year. So we're going to take away $875 per year times 1 year times the 2,000 options. So plus 875 times 1 times 2,000. And yes, I'm putting in a times 1, not because I need Excel to tell me what times 1 is, but just to demonstrate that that's the math that we're doing, is 875 per year times 1 year times 2,000. There could easily be an example where an employee has worked 2 or 3 years, in which case you'd have to multiply by 2 or 3. So on 4/1/19, we are going to take out $17,500 of options expense. Of APIC options. The next event that happens 12/31/19, our second service year ends. So we're going to make essentially the same kind of journal entry we make at the end of every year. It's a year-end adjusting entry, recording the compensation expense. But what happens in 2019? Our employees are still earning $875 per year, and they're still working 1 year. But how many employees are there who have earned a whole $875 per year during this year? Well, there's only 18,000 employees left, 18,000 options left, because our employee with 2,000 options has quit. So we only have 18,000 options worth of comp expense still to go. So plus 18,000 times 1 times 875, 157.5. And so that's what we're going to put in comp for this year. And so our balance at the end of 12/31/19, not 13/31, we're not in Ethiopia, 12/31/19 balance. Our balance after 2 years is $315,000. Now, what does that $315,000 represent? Remember, I always say all your numbers in accounting should mean something. Well, we have 18,000 options. They have all earned $875 per year, and these employees have all worked 2 years. So if we take 18,000 times 875 times 2, guess what? $315,000. So what this number represents is the total value of paid-in capital for all the options that have been earned over the course of the 2 years. And again, it's not the 20,000, it's only 18,000 because the one employee quit. Now notice again, compensation expense in 2018 is 17.5. compensation expense in 2019 is going to be 157.5 minus 17.5. So let's show what that number is. 157.5 minus 17.5. Our comp expense, if you combine these guys, is a total of 140 in 2019. Now that's a little bit too low because we really had 157.5 of comp expense, but that also includes the last year adjustment. So let's look at 2018 comp. 2018 comp is 175, 2019 comp is 140. What do you think the sum of those two is going to be? Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, 315. Aha, isn't that nice? That is nice. What that shows us is that the total APIC options is the total comp over the 2 years. All right, so that's what it should be. It's the total comp that we have given to our employees, the total option value that they have earned over the 2 years. All right, we're all set. We've given all our options to our employees. They've earned. The whole earnings process is done, and now we are in this service period, or the exercise period, excuse me. We're in the 5-year period of 2020 through 2024 when employees can exercise their shares of stock. 3/31/20, 12,000 options are exercised. So what's going to happen when employees exercise options? They're going to give us cash, and they're going to give up their options because they're exercising their options. So we have to record the cash coming in, and we have to record the APIC going off the books. And we're going to record the stock piece of it the way we always do. So let's look at our entries. We have 12,000 options exercised. And what's our exercise price? $25 per share. So 12,000 times 25. So that's going to be $300,000 of cash coming in. Our APIC options, what's happening? We've got 12,000 options times our total fair value per option is $17.50. Now I could do $875 times 2, but at this point all the earning has been done, so needing to break it down by year doesn't matter anymore. So you can just go ahead and do $17.50. You can also do $875 times 2. 12,000 times $17.50, and the total APIC options of the options that are being exercised is $210,000. Common stock, we're going to record at par, and we have 12,000 shares at $10 par. Oops, that ain't what I wanted to do. And this is, our APIC is going to be our plug. So that plus that minus that. And that's our plug. So our common stock has a total value of $510,000. How do we get that? Well, the $300,000 of cash plus the $210,000 of compensation that's associated with these 12,000 options. So this is how we're recording our 3/31/20 exercise of the options. We got the cash. We no longer have the options on the books, so we can get rid of the APIC options here. 3/31/20. And our balance is going to be $105,000. Now, you know what I'm going to do next. What does that $105,000 represent? Well, how many options do we have left? We had 20,000. Oops, let me do this. We had 20,000 minus 2,000 that were forfeited, minus 12,000 that were exercised. So we have 6,000. Should have done it over here. Look at it the first time. 6,000 options remaining. What's the total fair value per option? $17.50. What's going to happen? $105,000. So what this 105 represents is a 1750 per option times the 6,000 options that are still remaining in our employees' hands. Now, 12/31/24, the remaining 6,000 options expire. So what are we going to do? Well, we no longer are going to have these options on the books. We no longer owe our employees the opportunity to buy these 6,000 shares at $25 a share. But we have still gotten the comp from, or we've gotten the labor from them. We've still earned what they've done for us, whether it was good or bad. We've earned it, and so we're not going to undo the comp expense. They've done all the work they need to do. The fact that they've chosen not to earn it or not to exercise the shares isn't our problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all this $105,000 out of APIC options. $12/31/24. And we're just going to make it go away, and we're going to move it into APIC expired options. So here's all we're doing is we're saying we still have the value that our employees provided for us, but we no longer have the obligation to give them the shares of stock at $25. So that value they provided is now in this APIC account called expired options. That's really just going to sit there for the rest of forever. So that's what we're doing there. We've now cleared out APIC options. We have no options outstanding anymore. And that's all we got. So we've got a no entry on grant date. We've got a fairly normal entry when we record the comp expense. It's a year-end adjusting entry. We just got to make sure we have the right number of options that we're recording it for, and make sure we do the annual fair value per year portion. We have a slightly weird entry when we have people quit or get fired. We undo the options that are in APIC, and we undo the comp expense. And this is really kind of the weird part. You're crediting expense for the wrong period of time, the wrong income statement period, but that's the best you can do. We have a pretty normal entry when we have the options exercised. This is all pretty much what we would expect. We're recording the common stock like we normally do. We're recording cash in like we normally do. And since these options no longer exist, we're taking the APIC off the books. And then we've got this other entry, which is a normal entry, but kind of a weird account. We're taking the APIC options off the books when the options expire. That's not surprising, but having this APIC expired options, like, hey, employees worked for us and didn't get paid, we're going to call that equity. Well, it's kind of weird, but that's really sort of like the only place it can sit. So that's that. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. Bye.